You're tuning in to the Goldilocks presentation of the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show with Anthony Rodriguez. Anthony Rodriguez, aka Walking Crow, found transformational energy healing through a personal search into healing and was transformed by this experience. He made the decision to pursue training and has since become a certified energy healing practitioner with an emphasis on working with clients in recovery from addiction. His willingness to be open and listen has allowed him to be of service to many who seek a peaceful, serene, and healthier body, mind, and spirit. Call in now if you would like to speak with Anthony. The call-in number is 713-955-0332. Enjoy this transformational and healing show.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Anthony Rodriguez, and this is a Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show. I'd like to welcome you back to another Tuesday edition. And not only is it the Tuesday edition of the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show with myself, Anthony Rodriguez, Walking Crow, aho, but it's also Valentine's Day. And I'd like to wish everybody out there, old listeners and new listeners alike, a happy Valentine's Day. I hope that the biggest love of your life is looking back at you in your mirror and that you embrace that person to the fullest so you can take all that love into relationship that you want and share it in a good and balanced way and in a way of beauty. Aho, mitakiasi, aho. Well, fantastic. Wow, I'm excited today, just like I was excited last week and the prior weeks. Today's guest is going to be Marsh Engle. Marsh Engle is an incredible friend of mine. She'll be calling in from Hawaii, so I'm excited about that too. I'll get to listen to the waves in the background. Last week we had Master Seal, and the week before that we had Jeannie Love, and the week before that we had Emma Molina Enriquez, all incredible friend teachers, masters, shamans. Next week we're going to have our producer, Reverend Tiffany White, Sage Woman, as guest next week, and we're going to learn more about Tiffany White. I'm sure you learned a lot about her from her shows, but we're gonna get down dirty and personal, not really, about what she brings to the table for us and how she allows us to do what we do under her guidance. And I'm so appreciative of what I get to do here on a weekly basis. So also, if you want to reach me as an energy healer, or if you want to put on an event in your town, in your area, in your studio, you can reach me by calling area code 818-442-1717, or you can email me at anthony@sacreddrummedicine.com, or you can reach me at www.sacreddrum24.weebly.com. That's my temporary website, but you can get any vital information that you want off of that website. Also, if you're wanting to call in and ask a question of Marsh Engle or myself, you can dial in by calling 713-955-0332 and push 1 to get out of listen mode. Today's an exciting day. It's sunny in California, and we're between rains, and I am glad to be here and ready to speak to Marsh Engle. Now, Marsh Engle, women and men across, let me start over again. I'm going to read her bio to you. Women and men across the United States, Europe, and Canada have sought out Marsh Engle to help them make spectacular leaps in their career and business while inspiring transformation in their personal lives. Why? Because her remarkable ability to identify hidden talents, undervalued strengths, and overlooked opportunities. Marsh is passionate about providing you with the resources and inspiration to zero in on the higher creativity and find ways to bring it to life as fast, energetically, enthusiastically as possible. Her work in the field of leadership, redefining the culture of women's success. In June 2016, she was invited to serve as ambassador at the United States of Women, a program sanctioned by the White House and led by Michelle Obama. Marsh started her entrepreneur career, including multiple successful startups as a single mom of 2 young boys. and fine young men they are. I know both those young men. To learn more about Marsh Engle and her work, visit www.marshengle.com. And to learn more about 1 Million Call to Lead a Movement, visit www.1millioncalled.com. Remember, you can call into the show live and ask questions of Marsh or myself at 713-955-0332. And boy, I'm excited about bringing Marsh onto the show. And when I think of Marsh, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I thought of what the word Marsh meant to me, her name, and I thought of a marsh, a shallow body of water that connects many elements, many necessary elements. I want to say, and I'm not saying that marsh is shallow by any means. What I'm saying is a marsh, what it means to me, and what it brings to the table for me. So at this time, I'd like to bring in friend, teacher, master shaman, Marsh Engle, and I'd like to welcome you to the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show. How are things today?
Oh, Anthony, it's Valentine's Day. It's filled with love, and I'm so thrilled to see a lot of people on Facebook celebrating self-love and self-care, honoring oneself. I think it's a perfect day to do that, and of course, I'm on the island of Maui, which is spectacular any day, Valentine's Day and every day. So
right.
What can I say? I feel blessed to be on this day, on this island right now with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. You and I met just about a year ago, if not maybe a little bit more, and we've become friends over the last year. It's amazing how many people I've become friends with over the last year that are a really important and vital part of my life, because I believe that. I believe that people like you and others are a vital part of my life, and I'm really appreciative of having you in my life because you give such great guidance, and you give, you're, sometimes we just need somebody to hear us, and you're one of those people, and I always know you're listening when I'm talking. And I get to,
that's
and I'm
a nice
lucky
thing to say. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for that.
And I get to spend some quality time. I get to spend time with you that some people don't, because I get to take you to the airport. So I get to have an hour
you hear
with
about
you.
the adventures. Yes, you do. You're right there next to me as I'm taking off, and I've gone to some pretty great, of course, you just took me to Washington, D.C. for the Women's March, which was a million men, women, children gathering, and it's taken me to Maui and probably Montreal and all of the different places that I get to travel. I'm so blessed to be able to reach out to communities globally, and it really brings a lot of joy. It's such an amazing time, and I love the idea that you're talking about listening, because I just was working with a client this morning who was asking how can they be of best support to a loved one that's going through great trauma in her life right now. And I said, what I've found is that no matter what's going on, to be a good listener, it's so powerful for us to be. And I think it's one of the last things that we perhaps learn, because we think we're to solve problems for people. And the truth is that everyone has an inner resource that's rich in their own problem solving, but sometimes being a great listener allows them to reach in and find out what those answers are, because they speak it up to themselves. So, I love the idea of listening, and I love today being Valentine's Day and listening to our own internal guidance and our own needs and our own, what is it that our body's asking for today?
It's funny because last week I on social media, I placed a quote about listening, and I said the most important part of a conversation is the part of listening, because if people aren't listening to us, or if they feel they're not being heard, a lot of times they feel like they're not being loved. And I always want people to feel like they're loved by me, because I love me and I listen to my inner self. And if I'm able to listen to my inner self, I'm 10 times more able to listen to somebody else. And I love being that part of the conversation, and the growing of that relationship, if you will, because of the listening ability. So, Marsh, so what's going on now? I know you're in Maui, but are you in Maui for just vacation, or are you working on another book or something? Tell me what's going on with you.
You know, I am writing like a wildfire here. I find Maui to be a creative muse. It's, you know, of course, you're on an island surrounded by water. You have beautiful people here, beautiful, loving people, beautiful atmosphere and environment, and everything that's conducive to getting really clear. You know, I find that I live in Los Angeles, and it is quite busy. And for those of us that are highly sensitive, we feel a lot that is going on in that atmosphere. So many times I can get overloaded with distraction and not be able to hear so clearly. You know, and we were just talking again about listening and how important it is for us to be able to listen. Especially, I feel the number one thing is to listen within ourselves and value that so highly. Happen to be a person that does that. I do value my inner listening, but it takes a lot of stillness to do that. So I find Maui, coming back and forth between Los Angeles and Maui, is a perfect merging for me with my creativity, because it allows me to, those new ideas, that new creativity that's wishing to be expressed, write the books. And I've committed to 2017 as a year of publishing at least 3 books that I have. The first one comes out in just a couple of weeks. I'm going to just say its name because I'm excited. I just looked at the galley last night and approved it. It's called The Sacred Agreements, and that is purpose, passion, and the power to lead. And it's a book written specifically for women, and it's sacred agreements that we can live by. What I found is that it's time for a new set of agreements that we've made within ourselves, sacred being that deepest part of ourselves, and then an agreement saying we're aligning with it. And I found that because times have changed, it's time for us to create a new set of agreements that we live by and we create by. And then the book I'm working on here is called Dear Amazing Daughter, which is a project that I'm very close to my heart, because I feel as though as women, we are natural nurturers. I'll say women and men are natural nurturers, but the book is written specifically for women to express their heart to what they'd like their daughter, meaning not necessarily their natural birth daughter, but all young women to hear and learn from us. So that's been a great journey of writing for myself, as well as for a group of women that joined me in sharing their stories and writing their Dear Amazing Daughter letters. So that's kind of what I'm up to here. And then, of course, you know, I'll add in vacation, because how can you be on Maui and not enjoy the atmosphere? You know, let me just say it's a great place, not only to work, but also to love life. And I say this because I'm encouraging everyone, if you get an opportunity to come to Maui for a day, a month, a week, 5 minutes, whatever length of time you can be here, this is a sacred energy of creativity. And I know every moment that I'm here, I'm blessed. And I made a commitment to inspire as many people as possible to experience what I'm enjoying here today and for the next few weeks while I live here.
Wow. I want to ask, you've said the word sacred. We've used the word sacred a few times this morning. Now, I know that most people, for the most part, when they think of sacred, they think of outside of themselves. They think of a crucifix. They think of the Mother Mary. They think of all kinds of things other than self. And I know, and a lot of people, and you know, the people that I call teachers, masters, shamans, friends, I know that these people understand the sacredness of themselves. And I had to come into my sacredness. And I have to tell you, I shared the story of a Swami that I spoke to. Well, no, he did a talk on soulmates, and I thought, oh, good, I'm going to learn the secret. So I ran to listen to this talk, and he got to a point in the talk where he said, soul sits in the soul seat outside the body, and he held his hands in front of his chest. He said, soul is so small that you can't draw it with a pencil or a pen. A soul only does one thing. And I thought, okay, here comes the rub. I'm going to get the secret. He said, soul only loves God.
Oh, is that the most beautiful statement? Say
when
that
I
again,
heard that,
Anthony. That's so beautiful. I want to hear that again. That is so good.
Soul only loves God. And, there's people who chase the idea of soulmate, twin flames. The media talks about that. Social media, people are always chasing those things because they don't understand the sacredness of the soul and who and what they are and have the potential to be and have been. And the
well, I'm glad you're bringing it up, the word sacred, as being sometimes, let's just say it's ready for an expanded definition of what sacred means. But when I decided to call the book The Sacred Agreement, there was some pushback from my community, my advisors that are closest to me, that said exactly what you said. It sounds like Mother Teresa. It sounds like it's heavy and difficult. And I said, well, it's deep and it's meaningful, but what sacred truly means at its highest place is that deep interconnection with oneself. And when you hold something as sacred, when you hold an agreement that you're making as sacred, it's a different feeling than if you just say, I'll say yes to that. But when you make a sacred yes, when you come into sacred yes or sacred agreement, it is both feet in, 100% energetically connected and committed to what we're speaking about. And I think that a sacred agreement for me is a different feeling. And it took me a lot of years, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm even there yet, but to reach that sacred place within myself, I feel like every single day I put a toe a little deeper into that feeling sense of what it means to live a sacred life, or what it means to live from that sacred of agreement. And I think it is our life journey. So it's not like we get there and now we're done. I think we get there and then we get there more and we get there more and we get there more. And we begin to value the power of our spoken word. We begin to value our interactions. We begin to value things like we were talking about earlier, like the skill of listening and the art of listening. And I think that the more we enter into sacred agreement with ourselves, that space within ourselves, that carries such a rich connection with life and love and God, all things that we consider to be life, love, and God. All of that, when we enter into agreement from that place, life becomes a lot different. I even call it my sacred work. I talk to my clients, what is your sacred work? Because there's a difference between work and sacred work. And when I'm doing my sacred work, sometimes I'm doing my work, like standing in line at the bank, although that is part of my sacred work, or, standing at the line at the post office to ship out boxes, or the things, packing my luggage to get ready to go on a trip. All that feels like work to me, but it's part of the sacred journey. But my sacred work is things like what we're doing right now. We're having conversation that feels good and inspired and energetic, and I pray that touching a life somewhere. And that, to me, is our sacred work, when we speak our message, when we share our gifts and talents. And I'm on to this conversation right now, no gift concealed. When we open up and allow those sacred gifts that are within us, no gift concealed. What are those sacred gifts, those superpowers within us? All of that, to me, is what sacred means. And that's why I stood my own with that. Anybody listening that's working on a project and you get a hit, or you get a sense of what you are being guided to call something, or you're being, your heart just feels good when you call it that. My heart feels good when I say the word sacred agreements. It just feels like that's what I'm here to speak about, at least for this moment. So I say all of us follow that inner impulse that's guiding you to what's wishing to be created through you.
Interesting that, the word sacred, the transformational sacred drum medicine, chose the word sacred. I didn't choose it lightly because I know the experiences that I have I've had to have to get to point B. And, and I share that I'm well-rooted and well-fruited, and I'm the tree that doesn't get knocked down by the four winds. I may lose a branch, I may lose some leaves, but I'm here. I am present. I am. And I know that my work, the work that I do, is sacred because I see what happens in the transformation of others when I'm speaking to them, or they're healing in the moment of healing. And it's such a, it's like I have a lot of oh wow moments, but the word sacred is has become such an important part of who I am and what I do and where I'm going that I want to share it with everybody. I just want to just scream it from the mountaintops, but can't do that.
So you are. So you are to millions of people right now. I think that also when I hear the word sacred used, it gives me pause to consider within myself, well, what does that mean to me? What does sacred mean to me? So I say we use it freely and purposefully and intentionally and deliberately, and we celebrate it from a place that does give us that reason to pause and say, well, what does that mean to me? Am I really living my sacred self, or am I settling, or am I saying yes to things I really mean to say no to, or am I moving in a direction that I really in my heart knows is not the direction for me? Am I, those are tough decisions many times, because sometimes it means saying no to things that others really want us to say yes to. And I face it every day where, I'm given opportunity, and, sometimes those are in alignment and sometimes they're not. And so I have to really be with myself and understand what is sacred to me and how am I choosing to invest that in an action that will, that I know will be of greatest service, not only to my own life, but most specifically to the lives of others. And so I think that sacred, its time has come. Let's use it. Let's celebrate it.
Absolutely. I want to remind the listeners that you're listening to the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show, and we're talking to Marsh Engle. And if you want to call in, please call in at area code, I just went blank, 713-955-0332. Push 1 to get out of listen mode, and our producers will know to patch you through. All right. So, Marsh, I met you at a Journey. I think it was I was doing some drumming for Journey, and you walked in, and I don't think we had met. That's the first time I had met you, and like I said, we've been friends ever since, and I've had a lot of experiences with you at different events and things, and you're highly respected in our community, in the healing community, and the motivational community, and you're one of the few I don't even know if I want to call you a motivational speaker. I don't know if that does you justice. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes motivational speakers can be a little salesy, and you're not to me. You're I think you're original, and I think you're honest. I think you speak in palabra, truth, a word, and you speak your truth, and you give credence to, and here we go again, you give credence to listening to what you have to say, and that carries a lot of weight. I believe it carries a lot of weight. How did you come to be, the Marsh Engle that is now, what you're doing, the Million Women March, and the different things that you're doing? How did you come to this place?
Anthony, I got to tell you, it was a lot of peeling back of a facade of who I thought I was, to get to the memory of this young girl within me who made a commitment, made a sacred agreement with herself that she would inspire and support and encourage others to not have to experience some of the things that I had experienced, the depths of sadness or grief or low self-esteem or lack of self-trust or an ever-abundant self-doubt, or all of those things that I was experiencing as a young girl. And it took me a lot of peeling back to get to that memory of that moment when I made a decision that, as a young girl, I will tell you that I led in the neighborhood. I led live events, as a young girl, I did them, and I called them, you're going to laugh at this, but I called them Queen for a Day. They were celebrations of people's possibilities. Now, I didn't know this. This is me talking today. But as a young girl, I did them. There were talent contests, and, I would have people up on stage sharing their talents, and I would have, myself backstage, myself sharing my talents, and we had a an amazing experience in the neighborhood that happened once a week, then I would write stories about the other kids in the neighborhood and things that they were interested in. It was interesting to me to know what they were interested in. And then we did bigger neighborhood events that would benefit a cause. So we'd bring a cause partner in, somebody that we could raise money to benefit something good, good work that they were doing. And we did these events in the neighborhoods, and we collaborated to do these. And as a young girl, I was really sitting in the a vessel, or sitting in a pool of this inspiration. And I will use the word motivation because it's come to be my pure motivation, meaning it's what moves me forward with all of my actions, is knowing that I had been equipped from a very young age to have this deep, deep, deep desire, this pure motivation to move me into the action of doing the work that I've done with Amazing Women's Day and the 1 Million Called, and the Women's March on Washington, and the United State of Women. All of those things were in my destiny, even as a young girl. But I had to grow into them, and the only way I could grow into them was to let go of all of the self-image. And believe me, it was thick and, a big wall of image that I had built about myself. Things like, I could never do that. I remember once I studied with some amazing teachers, and I once went in for a mentoring session, and this was with a new mentor, and he opened the door and he says, "Oh my gosh, you're a seer, much like Carolyn May says. Your intuition is really expanded. You're really, you're a healer in that way." And here's what came out of my mouth: "Oh no. That's nothing like who I am. I'm a television producer. I'm a marketer. I work for the entertainment studios. That's not at all who I am." So I wanted to fight for my, for the less than. I wanted to fight for, not that there's anything wrong with being a television producer or working in the studios, but the other part of me, that sacred part of me, that feminine creative part of me that was wishing to be expressed through my intuitive expanded gifts, which are very expanded. They've always been expanded since I was a young girl, but I had denied them away, buried them in a basement, just undervalued them. And it was all about doing and achieving and accomplishing and the awards. And I don't mean that to sound like any of that stuff is bad, because I went back and had to collect the esteem around that as well. But it only denies us the opportunity to be fully expressed if we're not allowing the balance of the other aspects of ourselves. Am I making sense on that? It's that, there's nothing wrong with the doing. I love my doing. I love the accomplishing, and I love the bringing community together and the gatherings, and I love creating, in physical form. I love that. But I can only love it to the extent that I can celebrate the creativity and the source energy from where it comes from. And when I'm able to sit in that space. So I went on a journey that was 6-year sabbatical, and I studied with amazing teachers and got dug deep. And meaning digging deep was really about chipping away all of those definitions, the crazy, and there were some crazy definitions there. I mean, I bump up against them still today. I'll say something and I'm like, wait, how am I defining myself in that way? How am I underestimating myself in that way? How am I, undervaluing the gift that I have? How am I, creating a perception in the world that is less than fully who I am? And I think we have to ask ourselves those questions. And when we get good at that, I call them gooey stuff that, like, oh my God, I just stepped in some really gooey definitions that I'm not comfortable in. But when you get into that,
how did I get gum on my shoe?
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, what is that about? What did I just say? How did I just say that? How have I like got an old definition floating up there? So I think that when we get into that though and start asking ourselves those great questions, that's when we're able to see more of who we are. And when we get when we get a clear view, even if it's a glimpse for a moment, a clear view, what happens is things begin to expand around us. Opportunities begin to be drawn to us because now we're letting ourselves be seen more. Therefore, the world can find us, meaning the people, the opportunities, the experiences that we're longing for can find us because we're willing to be real in the world. And it's vulnerable. It's uncomfortable. it's, I'll even use the word embarrassing because there's still a little bit of an ego sometimes attached to, opening my mouth and, channeling a message to someone. I think when I met you, I whispered in your ear a beautiful message, and I looked at you and I said, this isn't a joke. This isn't me just saying this. This is coming from a beautiful space within me for you to hear. And I think that when we let, some of that stuff's very vulnerable and uncomfortable, and, but it's the only way we can be here. And especially now, don't you imagine? Especially now, especially today.
There's a lyric, and I talk about this all the time by a group called the Hot House Flowers. They're a group from Dublin. This lyric is from 20 plus years ago, and it goes like this. I remember as a little child kicking against the stone wall I built around myself. I won't give in. I won't feel guilty. I'll just rise up and I'll be myself. And for the last 25 years, I've been talking about that stone wall. Ever since I got sober, as a matter of fact. And I say, I've been kicking the stones out of this wall one at a time over the last 25 years. And then I'm still pushing the stones out. And there was the walls that I built between you, between myself and God, between me and everything else. And as I've come along, you talk about teachers, and I have many, Master Seal is one of my teachers. And I think the first or second time I sat down to lunch with him, he said to me, Anthony, you're a seer. And I heard him, just like I heard you say, Mother Mary told me to tell you. And I don't forget, by the way. I remember. And I heard him say, you're a seer. And as I was walking this morning, noticing the blue sky, the birds in the air, and the sunrise and the clouds and everything that I was experiencing, I thought about how I was going to rewrite my bio, and how I was going to add that I was a seer and a philosopher to that bio, because I am ready to step into that place and those things, because that's who and what I am. I'm not just
I have something great to share with you, Anthony. Being a seer, you're a seer, and we should say what a seer is. A seer can see the highest aspect of people. We can see their soul purpose. We get probably different ways that we see, but I call it easy for me because I'm communicating with your soul when I'm speaking. Sometimes that might feel uncomfortable in the personality place because I'm seeing so much of your own beauty that it can make us uncomfortable. But I heard someone describe it, and I wish I could tell you who it was that said it to me. And I don't know who it was. I was listening, though, on like a video somewhere. It's a video that's on one of my Facebook walls. Doesn't matter to the conversation. But do you know what it's called, seeing? It landed on me differently. And the reason I'm saying is because all at once, that gift of seeing raised in value. It's called divine witnessing. Divine witnessing. And we have that gift it's a gift of divine witnessing. When that landed on me, the fact that I'm a seer, or the gift of my seeing abilities, changed in dimension completely, because the word witnessing said to me that when I see someone and I can witness for them their highest aspects or their gifts or their talents or their beauty or their powers, the love that they bring, reveal to them and witness it for them. Some people say reflect it, but reflect it to them, witness it for them. That's all we ever need, because when we can see it in someone else, we can witness it in someone else, it somehow gives us the ability to see more of it in ourselves. So that divine witnessing, not only do we do it, or that gift of seeing, we do it for others, but we do it for ourselves. We do it so that we can expand it within ourselves. And I love saying divine witnessing. It felt different to me than even saying being a seer. Felt like it had more purpose. It just feels like it has more meaning and purpose and significance.
Wow, that was deep. That just took me to a place of actually it put me in a place of comfort.
Divine witnessing. It feels like all the way, it's like, wow. It's a gift that I'm sure many, many people listening right now, those of you that have that ability to see something or know something within somebody's life, or know something that is a good forward movement action for them, or a new way of aligning the way they define themselves, or, sometimes a comforting word. You know, I'll be standing somewhere and I'll just start talking about something, and the person will look at me and say, "How did you know to speak about that?" And I always just laugh and say I'm a good guesser. I just guess good. But it's actually divine witnessing. It's, you know, you're giving that person, sharing with that person something that will inspire them and move them and help them be more present to their own purpose. And that just feels good to me.
You know, I had a client call me about a week and a half ago, and she was she's moving forward. She's making all this progress, and she got her own apartment. She's got a promotion at work. She's not an engineer, but they're giving her the work of engineers, so she's having to learn because they trust her. And she says, "Anthony, it's too much. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." And I just, you know, sat with her on the phone and talked her through it. And at the end of our conversation, near the end of the conversation, she stopped me. She says, "Can I ask you something?" I said, "What?" She says, "How do you do that?" I said, "What?" She says, she happens to know the things that I'm going through. And she says, "How do you go what you're going through and you're able to help people the way you help them?" And all I could think about was the divine spirit. And this is what we do. We overcome and supersede those things that are happening in our lives. Not that they're not happening, but we become to be with them in a different way, because there's a higher calling for me, I believe.
Yes.
And the higher calling is, how can I help you right here, right now?
Well, I tell me what you feel about this, but sometimes when I'm going through the periods of the deepest sadness or the deepest grief or the deepest sense of disconnect, by reaching out and doing something for someone, especially if it's giving them what I feel that I could use at the time, you know, giving myself what I really desire for myself. Sometimes I don't even know what that is, but by giving someone or sharing with somebody, or sharing a word, or sharing a gift, or sharing a meaning, a talent, or a capability, sharing a conversation, it allows me then to do a deeper level of healing within myself. And I can stay present to the challenge of it, but I can give them the love that I'm looking to receive. And that's a powerful thing.
Yeah. Sure is. Wow. I didn't think
it's good. It's all good.
This deep, this quick. We're in deep water now, Marsh.
It's all good.
Wow. Yeah, it really does feel good. Wow. Okay. We can say goodbye now. I'm just kidding. So I want to remind the listeners that the call-in number is 713-955-0332. If you're wanting to speak with Marsh Engle, or ask her a question, or maybe even ask myself a question, please feel free. You can reach Marsh at, and I want to say this properly, you can reach Marsh at, and look and learn more about her and what she does at www.marshengle.com. And you can also go to www.1millioncalled.com. Now, tell us about 1 Million Called, Marsh.
Gosh, 1 Million Called came from one of my journeys to Maui. And it was a journey to Maui during a time where I knew, you felt those times where a big shift is ready to take place, but you have no idea what the new shift is, the direction is, the new way of talking, the new way of communicating, the new way of bringing community together. And so I came to Maui, and I just sat until I could hear. I just sat with myself until I could hear. And I heard the words, called to lead, the call to lead. And I knew, of course, that spirits generally always speaking to us first. But then I also knew that I was being called to inspire others to find the way to lead. And it would be good to say that leading isn't leading others necessarily. Leading is the choices that we make. It's those sacred agreements that we enter into and we align with. It's the power of investing our creativity and our energy into business, or into our careers, or into ourselves. businesses or into our livelihood. The call to lead is, what kind of life am I leading? So when I got that, I felt really good. I felt like, yes, I love the way this feels. And I came back and I created the 1 Million Called, which inspires women. I coach women and men, but it inspires specifically women to join in community, join in collaboration with their creativity to build brands and businesses and projects and programs and all kinds of products that will be positioned to impact millions. So it's a program where you can receive the guidance and receive the resources to build your own company or build your own brand, find ways to talk about your work and communicate clearly, find ways to broadcast or really just step center stage and be fully present to sharing the gifts and talents that you have. And that's what the 1 Million Called is about. So the community brings together women who are looking to make a difference in the world and looking to support each other and be surrounded by those that are on the same path that they're on, finding their way, finding their message, finding the truth of what they stand for, joining in community to do that, and then collectively we impact millions and millions of lives.
You know,
and that's what the 1 Million Called is about. And I've done programs all over the world. The Call to Lead programs. I came back and we, it's amazing when you do align with your higher purpose, with what's being shown to you, and you're being guided to celebrate new ideas or new creativity or a new vision. Resources start to show up. Resources start to come to you that would otherwise not be there. So I think that that's important for us to all remember as well, that when you get that idea and you think, oh, no, I could never do that, well, think again about that, because when we get those ideas, I feel those are a divine guidance, a gift that's given to us. And like I said, it was not only the call to lead, was not only a message that came to me that it's time to step up and really choose the way you're leading. Choose the way you're leading community, choose the way you're leading your life, choose the way you're investing your creativity and honoring your higher aspects, but also inspire others to do the same. So it's, like all of my work has always been guided. Amazing Women's Day came to me, and Amazing Women's Day was the program that I led for 10 years, and it was a global movement. It was in 99, back in the day when women really weren't joining in community to celebrate and honor themselves, not in the way that we do today, certainly not in the way we did at the Women's March, but it was 99. It came to me right at the time that my mother died. My mother and my grandmother came to me and whispered the most beautiful, powerful message in the simplest of ways, and it was called A Search for the Amazing Woman, A Search for the Amazing Woman. And I had no idea what that meant, but I know that what that message came to me to inspire me to do was to go inward and search for that amazing woman within myself, and that became then an external search of interviewing and talking to and having conversations with women about what was meaningful, what mattered to them, what is actually the premise for the 6 Sacred Agreements, is that I literally got in my car and spoke to anyone that would speak to me. I was not an interviewer at the time. I was not in media. I was an entertainment marketer, but I was not in media in front of the camera, but it didn't matter. I had to do this. And so that message that came to me, as scary as it was, I spoke the other day about, I whispered it to one of my friends at the time that was a very highly respected entertainment marketer, and I said to him, I got this concept, this idea, this urging to create a day called Amazing Women's Day. And we were in the middle of a crosswalk in Santa Monica, and we stopped in the middle of a crosswalk. He looked at me and he said, do it. Do Amazing Women's Day. Create Amazing Women's Day. And I did. I went about the business of creating it the best I could, which was to bring together community across the United States. We went to Jamaica, we went to Canada, we went all over and brought community together with women, celebrating their gifts, their talents, their powers, their possibilities in a way that had never been done before. Because remember, back in 1999, 2000, 2001, that was not something that was easily spoken about outside of your own, inner circle, to be out in the world sharing your insights and sharing your visions and sharing your dreams. And it created a platform, Anthony. You know what happened is the bigger idea of that was it created a platform where teachers like yourself, speakers, coaches, healers, authors had a platform to be able to speak from. And Amazing Women's Day became this movement then that was exactly that. And it was for 10 years, the Amazing Women's Day inspired and uplifted. And then when I knew that was time to go, the message of that had evolved and it had matured. And now it was time to create the 1 Million Called, which is putting all of that love and passion that we have, and put it into something that becomes a business or an idea or product, a brand. So I think what I'm saying here in a bigger picture to people is, any of the healers that are listening right now, any of the coaches that are listening right now, don't become so invested in an idea. Like Amazing Women's Day was a tough one for me to retire because I had been it for 10 years. But don't be afraid to put it over on the side. Don't be afraid to let your message evolve. I always say that by allowing our message to evolve, our life evolves. We evolve through the messaging. And interestingly enough, on my last trip to Maui, not this one, but the time before, I got to bring Amazing Women Inspiring Millions to be the primary banner of what I speak about. And the energy of not letting go of 1 Million Called, but allowing Amazing Women Inspiring Millions to be the primary message that I spoke about. It was amazing, the energetic expansion that I could feel by aligning with something that my heart was really longing to speak about.
Interesting what you just said, because I had to let go of men and self-care, miscellaneous, for a little bit because because I just needed to. And I needed to step into other things. Not that they're better than or less, but I just needed to have that shift. But speaking of 1 Million Calls, we have a caller calling in from the 818, Marsh, and let's go ahead and take that call right now. 818, how are you today?
I'm fabulous. How are you? Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's, Emma.
Yes.
I know that voice.
I love Emma. Actually, Anthony, where we met was Emma's Healing Center is where you and I first met. So it's like we've got a reunion happening here.
Well, there you go.
Well, I just heard the call. It is Valentine's Day. You both are my heart's love. So I just had to call in and say I love you. And yes, I am also a divine witness. I'm a divine witness to all that's going on in this world, and especially with you two in my life. It's an amazing life. It's an amazing day to celebrate love.
And what an amazing healer you are. What an amazing healer and teacher and inspiration. And I love divine witnessing you because it inspires me to divine witness more of myself. When I see you, it reminds me more of what those aspects that I've forgotten or kind of tucked away, and it's time to bring them out and share more love. And you are that pure love, pure joy. And I'm so happy you called.
I am too. I was listening to the conversation, and I just had to kind of, dive right in because everything that you're saying, especially Marsh and Antonio, what you just said, just this moment, I was saying this at lunchtime with a friend about another person who approached me just yesterday, and she was saying that she needed to let go of her business, but her business was her life. And it's affecting her back and everything. I mean, it's just, terrible stuff is happening because she believes that her business is her life. And I got real clear on that I made a living out of my business. It is not my life.
Oh, amen to that. Isn't that the truth?
Yes.
I'm so glad you brought it up because we can so get over-identified by, and I did this with Amazing Women's Day when I said letting go of the Amazing Women's Day movement. I was so over-identified by the beingness of what Amazing Women's Day meant to me and how it had been dedicated to my mother. And, it's like the letting go of that was the next level of healing for me. I had to let it go, just like you're talking about your client, had to let it go in order for me to be more present to the next steps that were being presented before me that I couldn't even see until I let it go.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And how it holds us, but we also hold on to that. And so I was really gifted this wonderful encounter by her saying that, you know, she has arthritis and, you know, rheumatoid arthritis. And I said, you know, I'm going to be just bold. I'm going to step out there and what is it that you're holding on to? And, you know, to want to sell your business, but yet holding on so dearly because you think it's your life. Only our life is our life. And I'm so grateful that I was able to come on cue the minute you were talking about that. I was like, okay, I got to share this too because I just got this epiphany that I made a living from what I was doing, but it is not my life.
That's right. And as soon as this woman sells that business, she'll have her life back.
Yeah, right? And her back.
And her she'll have her life back.
Right.
She will be supporting herself. She will be supporting herself physically, emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically, where she hasn't been for the lifetime of that business. I hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Emma,
she's not been living for her. She's been living for that.
Yeah. Well, before you may have heard this or not when you were listening in, I'm not sure, but we were talking about sacred agreements. And my new book's coming out, The Sacred Agreements, and you and I have been celebrating that, and I can't wait, a few weeks away. Yeah. But when it's about getting honest. It's that gooey honesty of getting really honest about how am I, you know, what we're saying is holding on, or how am I agreeing to things or activities or actions that really are outdated and I'm no longer aligned with, but have become so comfortable, like doing a business or leading a business, or especially if they're successful. And I'm going to tell you that I had a very successful business that I held on for too long. And I created to where it wasn't successful just simply so I could let it go. You know, I could have easily, 2 or 3 people had come along and wanted to buy that business, but I was so attached to it, I wouldn't let it go. And then it became the business failed, and I had no choice but to let it go. So I think that one way or the other, those sacred agreements that we enter into, we have to be really cautious and clear. And good listeners, we've been talking about that today too. I love that. But good listening about when is it outdated? When has it run its course? When has it served its purpose? And I've learned from it. I've enjoyed it. I've expanded through it. And now there's something new for me. And I can remember, this is a great story because we were talking about what did I let go of in order to do the work that I do today, and there was a lot of it. But I'm going to tell you, during that time when I was running my business, my marketing agency, during that time, and I had these people, 2 or 3 people came and asked me to buy it, simultaneously, I'm just remembering this now, people would say to me, and this is a true story, people would say to me constantly, you're like a female Tony Robbins or something. You're like a speaker or a coach or something. You're it was before the days of coaching being called coaching, but you're like a female Tony Robbins. And I'm like, oh no, I'm I'm the president of this company. I'm the whatever, fill in the blank. But I denied those signs, those powerful signs that were coming to me, encouraging me to let that piece of myself that was hidden, that was really longing to show up and share its love, that piece me that was really the pure essence, and it was time for that. But I had to grow into it, and I had to allow it, and I had to fall in love with it, get vulnerable with it. And I love that you called talking about when can we let go of a sacred agreement that's time has gone, time has come, and it's time to let it go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the question would be, look at sacred agreements and we think about making new agreements with ourselves, but maybe what, Emma, you've reminded me of, and Anthony, you've inspired, is what are the sacred agreements that we've said yes to that we've fulfilled? What is that, if there's a business or a Gosh, what else would there be? A relationship's a tough one, but it could be. A way of being, an eating style. My eating style has shifted all at once in the last 5 minutes. Like literally in the last 6 months, I've slowly, it's almost as though I'm being guided to be more vegan, or I'm pretty much vegetarian already, but more vegan. And it wasn't a conscious choice. It was more of a guidance. So maybe I'm entering into a sacred agreement about what I put into my body needs to shift. Mm-hmm. And I think that watch and notice things that we've outgrown or things that times have come, and then allow a new sacred agreement to be put into place.
Yeah.
I get kind of excited about the idea of creating new sacred agreements about my business and about my livelihood and about, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to let you both go. I just wanted to call and say I love you. And yes, Marsh, I'm in agreement with that. I feel like, like a big paid in full kind of stamp. I just feel like paid in full. Like I really did what I said I was going to do, and I kept my promise. And I walked through and stayed the course. That's what it is. I stayed the course. And now I could feel complete and say, like, it's paid in full. Whatever that is, I don't even know what that is. I just know that today I claim that and I feel that. And then to hear that from people I love, such as, what you're doing, what you're both doing, and what we're opening ourselves, availing ourselves. So, like Michael Beswick would say, what is trying to emerge through you as God?
Yes.
And I'm like, okay. So my only question to the Divine Spirit is what? What's next? What would you have me do now? Because I'm complete. I'm content. I'm, this is what success means to me. I feel successful.
Yes.
Full
so now
success.
It's like the excitement. There's a, and we'll speak about this on the next show, I'm sure, Marsh, about the fire in the belly and the feet on the ground. What does that mean? I keep hearing I'm excited, I'm ignited, and I'm not afraid.
Oh. I love that.
I love it
thank
too.
you.
And I also, I love, a lot of people talk about creating big ideas, and I've retired that conversation. I think every idea is a big idea. Even the simplest of ideas, like I'm going to create a meditation practice, that's a big idea for me. Or I'm going to, shift my eating patterns, that's a big idea for me. Yeah. I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. I know I'll speak for myself. Let me put my own words here, is that I know I lived in a veil of needing to do grandiose big things. And I'm glad I did some of the things that I did that were pretty big things. I'm glad I did that. But what I now know is that everything you do, you have an amazing practice of hiking and meditating and helping people find their way to conversation. You have an amazing gift at that. And that is a big idea. I mean, because people, it's like all we ever want, truthfully, is to communicate and be heard. I think that's, for the most part, is why we came here, is just let me talk this out and let me hear myself and let me hopefully be heard. But I think that this idea of having a big idea, its time has run its course. And now every idea that we have, so those that are listening, if you've got an idea of a healing practice or a new healing modality, or if you have an idea of a product or a program, any idea that you have is a great idea and a big idea. And it doesn't have to be something that's earth-shaking or earth-changing, or, it doesn't have to be that. Everything you do is going to make a difference. And that, to me, is where I am with the big idea conversation right now. It's like all ideas are good big ideas.
Ladies, we've come to the end of the show, and this has been, I wish I had another hour, because we could go on and on. This has been the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show. My name is Anthony Rodriguez, your host, Walking Crow, and we have been talking to Marsh Engle, and our caller, Melina Enriquez. And I'd like to thank you, Marsh, for being with us today, and Emma as well. Please check in with us next Tuesday when our guests will be my producer, Tiffany White Sage Woman, and I look forward to the conversation and learning what it is that Tiffany brings to our table. Once again, thank you for joining us on the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show. I bless you and I thank you. Aho.
Fashion emergency hotline.
Help! My kids just gave me an executive order for President's Day. New clothes now.
Just run to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep. Right now, get up to 50% off store-wide and at OldNavy.com through President's Day.
Up to 50% off? I vote for that.
Me too. And right now, jeans start at $15 for adults, $12 for kids. And tees start at $7 for adults, $5 for kids.
$5 tees and jeans on sale? This is huge. I'm headed to Old Navy now. Thanks.
Don't thank me. Thank Old Navy. Valid 2/13 through 2/20. Select styles only.